Hello, my name is Amanda and I'm with the Workforce Centers of South Central Kansas, the resource coordinator here that teaches the majority of the workshops. Today's presentation will be over Intermediate Excel, and we will discuss how to use basic formulas and explore functions, as well as how to format worksheets and work with information or data in your worksheets, in addition to securing and sharing your workbooks. So please stay tuned. For this first section of Intermediate Excel, we're going to look at using basic formulas and exploring some functions. We'll start with just simply putting in a formula, doing some addition formulas, as well as exploring some functions. So to begin, I'm going to start in cell A1. And I just want to cover some real basics of formulas. All formulas begin with the equal sign, and if you include a space, it will automatically be deleted when you hit enter, so no spaces are needed. For A1, we're going to type equal sign 7 plus 8 times 3 divided by 2 minus 4. And before I continue, I typed in this wrong. So let me edit, this is a good learning moment too, because what I did is where that 8 is, it's supposed to actually be a times. So I'll just scroll over it, delete, and make the adjustment as necessary. Okay. So before I actually hit enter, I want to show you that in cell A1, you see the formula we typed in. And then in the top, the formula bar, you see the formula we typed in. Now watch what happens when I hit enter. It moves it down 1. But above here, in where we put our formula, we have our answer, which was 15. If I click cell A1 again, what you'll notice is the difference. In the formula bar, we see how we got the answer 15. In A1, we just see the answer. Now, if you double click in cell A1, now you'll see the formula again. You can edit the formula in either the cell or the formula bar, but you do have to actually double click if you're going to do it in the cell to get the formula to pop up to make those modifications. So let's say I made a typo and I want this to be a 3 instead of a 4. I could do 3 and hit enter, and now I get 16. If I double click, I could also make the change here in the formula bar. I'm going to change it back to 4 and hit enter. So either place you can edit the formula. What you're going to find is the answer in the cell and the formula in the formula bar, unless it's double clicked. Moving on to some addition and showing you how to do some addition formulas. There's a couple of ways to do it, and that's why I have a few examples here. I'm going to show you a couple methods. If we wanted to add this row, you would of course start with the equal sign again, and we could do it the long-handed version. We could type in 253 plus 408 plus 358 plus 388. Now, is that probably the ideal way? It's definitely going to be longer, take a little bit more time from you. Once I hit enter, now we have our answer. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to do that faster and quicker. So we're going to come back to these two formulas. But first, I kind of want to give you an introduction to functions. And functions are helpful because they're shortcuts in essence. So we're going to explore the Formulas tab. So here's the Formulas tab. And here's the Insert function. You can also see here that You've got an Autosum, recently used, financial, logical, text, date and time, lookup and reference, math and trig, and more functions. So there's a ton of functions, and you would just have to go through and explore, but I will show you a few. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click the financial drop-down arrow. And so here's all the ones that fall under the financial realm. You can also, if you're not sure of where to find the function, but you know what function you're wanting to use, you can also find a function by clicking the Insert Function button, which will pop up a dialog box, and you can type what you're looking for. So for this one, we're going to use the date function. So what we're going to do is we're going to type date and go, and it should find the date function for us. And so it found it here, and we're going to click OK. So this allows us to set up our date function with what arguments we have. So it's 2020, and we're in July, and today is the 22nd. So I'm going to type OK. So I was in the cell down here, so it went ahead and typed in 7/22/2020. Okay. Now, the purpose of this date function is that you can actually, if you have a spreadsheet that you've created, you can put in the today function, and what will happen is whatever day it is, this date will automatically change. So right now on this spreadsheet, I have 7/22. If I open it tomorrow, it's going to say 7/22 because I don't have the today function in. But if I'm making changes on a spreadsheet pretty frequently, and I want the date to reflect the day it is and the changes that were made, you would want to put in the today function so it updates the date automatically for you. So how you do that is in this cell here, A22, you would type today, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then you would hit enter. And, oops, you know what I did wrong? I like it when I make mistakes because sometimes then, it is a learning opportunity. So even though this is just typing the today function in, it is still a formula. And so we still have to have the equal sign. And I forgot, I knew this didn't look right. So I need to add the equal sign. So I'm going to add it in the formula bar. And now I'm going to hit enter. So when I hit enter, now it changed it to today's date. So even if you're not sure what the day is, I had to look at my phone earlier. If you've already programmed in the date, when you type in today, it will always put in that day's date. And so even arguments or even functions that require no arguments, as in this case, they still must have the open parentheses, close parentheses to them. So if I was building a spreadsheet and I did have the today function in here as we have, like tomorrow, this would change to 7/23 in this spot. Now this one would not because I didn't have the today function in there, so it's only showing the date that we had. Okay, so we're going to explore the sum function a little bit further. I told you I would show you the shortcuts on this. So with adding these rows up again, you could hit equal. One of the other ways that you could do this a little bit quicker is to type the word sum for addition, open parentheses, and then you could actually go through here and then type A15 through D15. And what it does, close parentheses, and what it does is it highlights this here and shows you what it's going to add together. When you hit enter, it should change our answer. But there's actually even a quicker way. You could do equal, type sum, and then your open parentheses, and you can take your mouse and you can scroll over, and you see it's populating the coordinates A18 through D18. Close parentheses and enter. So there are some of the ways that you can go about doing that and making that a much easier process. I'm going to look at showing you one other option. So paste. And you could also just click Autosum up here, and you'll see that it highlighted all of these. It put in the coordinates, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then you hit enter. And that is the fastest way to do it. So I've shown you a couple of different ways you can calculate the formula, doing it the long way, typing everything out individually, or putting in the coordinates yourself, highlighting the coordinates, or using this Autosum feature to get the addition problem solved rather quickly. So through this particular exercise, we looked at typing in the formula, understanding the difference between the formula bar and the cell itself, how to enter in the today function, and how to find functions. Continuing on with exploring functions, we're going to look at summarizing data with functions and using the financial function. So this will be a little bit of a recap from our lesson a moment ago on how to use the Autosum feature. But I want to show it to you in this other kind of version of a spreadsheet as well. Okay, with a little bit more content. So, for example, if we wanted to add up total sales, for January, then you can go ahead and put the cursor in B25, for example. You would go ahead and do equal sign for our formula. And you could either type in, sum, as we shown you a moment ago, open parentheses, take your mouse, and you can highlight what you're wanting to calculate and close parentheses and get a total. Or you could just go ahead and click in the cell C25, if we want to do February now, go to the Formulas tab, click the Autosum button, and it automatically types all of that for you, the equal sum and all of the data, and then all you have to do is hit enter. And that means you could come through here really quickly and, add up the sums of these columns very quickly here. So I feel like we've covered the sum and getting a sum pretty efficiently now. I'm going to move on to using the average function. So I'm actually going to delete this so that we can just start fresh. And how you can get the average is either by typing equals average, open parentheses, and typing in the fields you want, or as we showed you before, just highlighting the fields you want, and then close parentheses it and hit enter. That's going to give you the average sale price or profit or whatever these columns are calculating here. And so you should just be able to hit equals average, and then go ahead and do the close parentheses, and that'll give you the average for each of those. So let's talk about the P&P function. What I'm going to do is open a new document. And P&P is really about figuring out what a loan payment may be based on a series of inputs regarding interest rate, loan amount, and loan duration. So for this one, I'm going to do File, New. And we're just going to start with a new workbook. It's going to have me type in some key things so that we know what we're talking about. So in A1, it wants me to type in electronics and press enter. And then it wants me to type in interest, years, loan amount, and then payments. In these fields, it's telling me the interest rate is 7.5%. And it'll be paid off in 2 years. The loan amount is $2,500. And so in order to figure out what my monthly payment would be, to calculate this, you would do equals. And the P&T function is actually minus P&T. And you're going to still do your open parentheses, okay? And so we're going to take the interest rate, and it kind of gives you the information here. So we are going to take the interest rate, which is 7 point, it is B2. So really what it wants us to do is to type in B2. B2 divided by 12 months in a year, comma, B3 times 12, comma, B4, and then close parentheses it. So this is what it's done. It's even color-coded each transaction. So once we have put in the formula here, now we can just hit enter and it should calculate what our actual payment would be monthly. And for some reason, that does not seem correct. me see what I did wrong. Make sure I type in percent. Maybe that's more like it. So if you don't type in the percent, easy way to get your answer to not be correct. So make sure you type in the percentage as well. And so now our monthly payment should be $112.50. So we've gone over using the Autosum once more, how to calculate the average, and doing the PMT function using the interest rate, the years, and the amount to come up with a monthly payment. Now that we've learned how to create a formula, we understand formulas a little bit better and how to use some of the functions to get the answers to our formulas. Let's look at formula errors, because that happens sometimes, and I want to show you how you can begin to figure out what is wrong with your formula. We have here an example. In our total monthly income column, we have a formula error, pound or hashtag name question mark, and then in the total monthly expenses column, we have the error, pound value exclamation point. In order to get an idea of what may be wrong with the formula, what you can do is click in the cell. So I'm going to click in cell G9. And something just to point out as well is that you still follow the coordinates in a spreadsheet that may look a little different than the average to find the G9. Okay. And so when I click in cell G9, I get a exclamation point, again a yellow diamond. And so it says, when I scrolled over a minute ago, the formula contains unrecognized text. So that gives us a little bit of an idea. But if we click the drop down, you can actually go to help on this error. And as long as your computer is connected to the internet, you should be able to get a response as to what could be wrong and how to fix it. It'll usually give you some explanation. So the top reason why the name error appears in your formula is because there's a typo in the formula name. Look at the following example it provides. So it says it should be countif. Instead of it, this one has two I's in it. Okay. So it's usually going to have something to do with this portion of your formula. And so you want to make sure you avoid any typos, etc. So we'll want to go back and look at our formula here. And we can find our formula in our formula bar at the top. So if we were to look at this and we just practiced sum and how to get that function to work, what could be wrong? And we know that usually it has to do with the name section. And so usually after the word sum there is not a minus sign. So let's take this minus sign out and hit enter. And now what it has done is it has given us the answer. So we were able to figure that one out pretty easily. Let's do the same thing on the value. So again, you're going to find this yellow diamond with the exclamation point in it. You'll click the little down arrow. We're going to get help on this error. And it says pound value is Excel's way of saying there's something wrong with the way your formula is typed, or there's something wrong with the cells you are referencing. The error is very general, and it can be hard to find the exact cause of it. The information on this page shows common problems and solutions for the error. You may need to try one or more solutions to fix your error. So the bad part about this one is it's so general. Sometimes it takes some thinking outside of the box and really taking a harder look at your error to see what is wrong. So we have here this information. We look in our formula and what could be wrong with this particular formula. So we're wanting a total of monthly expenses. So that tells me that we're talking about addition, and so we're going to need sum. And I don't see sum. This table expenses kind of thing threw me off. And I'm not seeing open parentheses, close parentheses, which I know are two things that have to be in any formula. So let's try adding sum and then open parentheses, close parentheses, and hitting enter and see what happens. Okay, so now we have an answer here. Of course, when you guys are doing your own, it may be a little bit more complicated to find out what those errors are, but hopefully from the information I provided you on using the diamond and going to get help on this error will help you begin to look at the pointers or the hints that they give you to figure out what exactly is wrong with it. And that wraps up formula errors. During this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to open a non-native file directly into Excel. So sometimes you may be trying to open a file that wasn't done in Excel, and Excel is attempting to convert it so that you can use it. So let me show you what that may look like if you were to attempt something of that sort. I've got a blank document here. On the Data tab, in the Get External Data group, you could click from Text, and we're going to import our Data Export Practice file. So I'm going to find it on my desktop where I've saved this particular file. So here's our Data Export Practice. And in the step 1 of the text import wizard, you'll notice here's kind of a preview of what this looks like right now. And this is Excel's best guess for the moment on how the data should be organized. So under choose the file type that best describes your data, choose delimited. So it wants us to go ahead and select choose delimited, which we have selected. And then you see this box here where it says my data has headers. You could checkbox that. So now, because right now it shows that row 1 would have this information, product, customer, quarter, etc. So we're going to choose next. And in step 2, it says uncheck the tab and notice what your information looks like in the preview, and then check the tab again. So right now here is the tab is checked, and we see that it is nicely organized. If we uncheck the tab, you see how it kind of squishes it all together and makes it not very readable. So we'll click tab again. And so you can see, if you use the scroll tab, exactly what the data looks like. And we are going to click next again. And then we're going to click finish. In the import data dialog box, we're going to set it to an existing worksheet, and we're going to click OK. And so now it has imported the information and its best guess with our headers that we had thought we were going to use here, and the information below that. And so then from here you can, make it easier to read by modifying some of the text, if you want to make the headers bold, etc. And it says here that some of the data it could not make sense of in C through F. Some, the type is general, and some of it is currency. I'm trying to look it over myself of what it was supposed to have done. And so to me it actually looked okay, but from our notes here it says to highlight this all, and what we'll end up doing is we are going to change it to currency. So we will actually go to the home tab. It says the number group, so the number group, and so instead of from general, we'll change it to all currency and make sure that it's all consistent. Okay, and so that really wraps up being able to import a file that wasn't originally done in Excel and how to get it to convert. For this exercise, I'm going to show you how to remove duplicates from a worksheet, in addition to adding headers and footers. So why would you want to remove duplicates from a worksheet? Well, sometimes you're trying to figure out, how many different products you may have, for instance, or maybe you're trying to make sure you didn't make any errors and insert the same information twice. So this remove duplicates feature can really come in handy and save you a lot of time versus you having to really dig through your spreadsheet to make sure you haven't made any errors, or to find the information that you may be looking for that's unique. So what I've done here to make this simple to show you is I've copied line 3, put it in line 2 here, and so these are exactly identical all the way across the board. Now, obviously in the real world, your identical matches may not be side by side and won't be that easy to see, which is why this feature comes in handy. So if we wanted to remove duplicates from this particular worksheet, you would click on the Data tab. And then what you will do is you'll go to the Data Tools section, and then there's a spot that says Remove Duplicates. So if I click Remove Duplicates, what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you how to, if we wanted to know, for example, in this example here, how many different products do we have? You'll notice there's all kinds of Alice Mutton under here as the product, etc. How many different product sales did we make? So we're going to unselect everything and we're just going to click product. So what it's looking for is it's going to cancel out anything that says the product more than once in our spreadsheet. So we'll click OK. So it tells us now that there were 253 duplicate values found and removed, and we now have just 25 unique values that remained. So if we were looking at what we sold recently, we sold 25 different products. Obviously, we had more customers that also bought the same product that we aren't showing here, but we sold 25 different products. So I'm going to undo this. Now maybe we wanted to make sure though that we did not insert duplicate information, the exact same thing, and so that our numbers are off. You could still do remove duplicates. This time, if you wanted to make sure that it wasn't an error, then you would probably want to keep everything selected because you would want it to check all of these columns to make sure that it wasn't just something that was a double entry. So we'll click OK. And so now it finds the one double entry I made on purpose, and we have 277 unique values. So depending on your need and what you're using, you may be able to use the Remove Duplicates feature to find the information that you're looking for without having to dig so hard. For headers and footers, in the header and footer, you can put page numbers, your name, different items that you may find helpful or want in a header or footer for each worksheet. So I'm going to show you how to add page numbers to a worksheet. On the Insert tab, you will find the text group and you'll click Header and Footer. It will divide your header and footer into 3 parts to kind of give you an idea of where it's going to lay out your information. So prior to, looks like part of the header had a page number in this corner. I'm going to delete that. And so that took that off. I really want my page number in my footer. So I am going to go ahead and scroll down to my footer. And if I want my page number here on this right hand corner, then I'll click in this box. Here's my header footer tab. And sometimes I want to show you, it's kind of tricky to see. It's got this dark green background. It's under the design tab, which only pops up when you have the header and footer piece selected. It's like an extra tab it gives you. You can then go to your header and footer elements. It'll give you some different things you can include, such as page number, number of pages, current date, time, file, path, file name, sheet name, a picture, etc. So we're going to click page number, and now it generates a code which will then populate the page number as it'll be a unique value on each page. So that's why it doesn't just say page 1 here in our thing. It's a formula. So if I scroll down and we're looking at all this, we can see that it's giving a unique page number in each spot. And so right now we are in the layout view, and we're able to see that. If we go to normal view, you won't see the header and footer any longer. You go to the layout view. Now you can see the header and footer, and you could add additional things. You know, if I wanted to add something in the header here in the center, again, go to this design tab. Maybe this one I do want it to be the sheet name, not necessarily a picture, but the sheet name. And so now that's in the center there. And if we go, so now it's giving the title of the page, and we've got our page number. Go back to normal view if you want to get rid of that. We'll do one other item in the footer. So I'm going to go back to Insert, Header Footer. That design tab popped up. We're going to go to the footer. So I'll move down to the foot of the page. And for this one, we'll do file path. And now we've got that information there at the bottom. This also gives you some additional navigation if you wanted to click go to footer again, because now it's in the header. So you can click go to footer, and you could then add additional information. So there are some shortcuts here to kind of take you from one spot to the next. Let's do this for the footer. I want in the first box of the footer for us to click this down arrow under the footer option. This is another way that you can add information. So page 1 source data, or sometimes you may have that it's prepared by a certain person, the date, and you can also select what you would want to be in that spot. So here it shows you that information as well. Sometimes it can take a moment to load. That is the basics with adding a header and a footer. And then you can just customize the content that you want located in the header and footer. Part of formatting a worksheet may entail applying conditional formatting. So really what that is, it's setting up your worksheet to where it identifies certain things like numbers below a certain threshold or numbers above a certain threshold so that you can identify them quicker and see them easier on your spreadsheet. So for example, we'll use this here. It looks like it's a team and possibly sales numbers for each month, each person. So if we select the chart with the area that has the numbers, and we go on the Home tab to the Styles group, you can click Conditional Formatting and then select Highlight Cell Rules and then Greater Than options. So highlight cell rules, and let's look at the greater than. So if, let's say people that made sales greater than 7,500 are some of the top sellers. And so we're going to give them the green light with the dark green. So we're going to change them to be green fill with dark green text. and click OK. So just seeing this is one way we could identify, okay, in January we had 2 people that sold over $7,500. Or a particular person, if you look at their row, was somebody consistently, selling over, looks like Nancy was. So it allows you to be able to identify those things a little bit easier. You can also apply multiple conditional formatting. So if we select the same chart and the numbers there, we can choose conditional formatting again. We can highlight the cell rules. We can choose less than. And so let's say less than 2,000. We are going to put them in the light red fill with dark red text. So these would maybe be our underperformers or the people that didn't perform up to par or standard. And so if we wanted to, go one step further, you could also apply another one. And you could do highlight cell rules between a certain range. So, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 is about average. And so we're going to give them the yellow. And what I forgot to do was highlight this, it looks like. So highlight the chart again, and you could go between, and you could give it a number. So I'm just going to stick with the numbers that came across, which is about the same, 3,000 to almost the 75. So let's go ahead and we'll just say that these were kind of the ones that they performed average. And so you can now look at this chart and identify those that were performing about average, and then there's some that were definitely, borderline to being an underperformer. For instance, here at the 2144, or this person was close to being, a higher performer, almost to that 7,500 mark. So it's just a way to be able to identify numbers quickly. And that is how you apply conditional formatting to a worksheet. And you can apply multiple formats so your worksheet could get quite colorful. For this section, I'm going to show you how to make your spreadsheet a little more appealing in terms of the way that it looks, color, font, etc. So if I wasn't too happy with the way that this current worksheet looked and I wanted to change some of the appearance, I could just go to the page layout tab, go to the themes, and this has all of the pre-done themes. You can scroll over them. You'll see my spreadsheets changing in a live mode to see if there's any other ones that maybe I like better. So I'm going to go with purple. The other option for changing things would be in the styles section if you click on home, and then you'll have different options here with the way that things are written, or whether they've got lines underneath it, headings, titles, etc. Now, the only problem is usually once you start changing that there, it's really difficult to get this back to the way that it looked before. So I'll show you kind of what it looks like. You do have to highlight this section this time to make those changes, but you can scroll over where it says input and it shows you. I still think this looks kind of dry compared to what our sheet had looked like a moment ago. Different boldness of the color, the accent. You can change the way that the heading looks, you know. So this also shows you other options. So this is pretty close to the way that it was before, this explanatory option. So you would just want to play around with either the themes or the styles to get your chart to look the way that you would like. For this exercise, I'm going to show you how to format a table using Quick Style, how to filter records in the table, adding comments to a workbook, deleting them as well, and printing comments on the workbook. So you maybe are presented, once you get a spreadsheet, it's all worked up and together, but you want to make it look nice and easier to read, not so boring. You can create a table format by highlighting your entire table. So you will make sure that you scroll and highlight the entire table. You will go to the Home tab, the Styles group, and then click Format as Table. At this point, it'll give you some options. And we're going to go with Medium Style 7. So here's the light colored ones, medium and dark. We're going to go with Medium Style 7. And if you scroll over it a little bit, it will pop up and show you Table Style Medium 7. When I click this, it's automatically going to format our table to look like this does, with a dark green on top, and then have it alternate between a light green and a white. You'll get this little pop-up box. All you have to click is OK. And what you'll notice now is that at the top of our headers, we have a little drop-down arrow. And that's so that you can use those as a filter option. For instance, let's go to the total column, click our drop down, and if we wanted to know who the top 10 sellers were for the entire year that we have listed here, we would just go to number filters, and then we could click top 10. Click OK, and now we would know who those top 10 sellers were. If we undo that, I'm going to go to, let's say we go to April. We filter by number. Maybe you want to do anybody that was above average. So now it's going to give the above average sellers during the month of April and show you who those were. If we come over here to our names, if you wanted to resort or filter them, you know, A to Z or Z to A, you can rearrange just by clicking on that little arrow. It gives you some alternate options. So sometimes you may have to add comments to a spreadsheet, and you can just click the box in which you want to add a comment to. Go to the Review tab, and then you can click New Comment. Okay. If you want to go do another one, you could either click on the square, or you can and click New Comment, or you can click Shift F2, which is the shortcut, and that also adds the comment feature. And when you're done, if the comments are not selected to show up on the screen all the time, they are hidden. And you'll know that there's a comment in this box by this little red piece in the corner here. And if you scroll over it, it will show you the comment. But when you're away from the box, it will take the comment away. However, if you come up to the Review tab and you click Show All Comments, now they're there to stay regardless of what you do. So if you don't want them to show up on the screen all the time, you would just make sure that the Show All Comments is unchecked, and then that would be only if you scroll over it. If you want to delete a comment, really just click on it, click Delete in the box up here. If you want to modify the comment, you can just click on it, you can click Edit Comment, and you can make whatever those changes are. Okay, so I'm going to add one more comment here just so that I can show you what it looks like if we were to want to print the comment on a workbook. So you would go File, Print, and what you have to do is you have to go to the Page Setup option, and then you go to the Sheet tab, and then do you see here where on the print you can do got grid lines, black and white, draft quality, etc. There's a comment section as well. And so you can either choose you want your comments at the end of the sheet, or you can choose if you want it as it's displayed on the sheet. So if you put it as displayed on the sheet, you may find that it's harder to read. I'm trying to see why this isn't showing up here. I apologize. Let me go back to, let's try this. File, Print, Page Setup, Sheet, Comment as it is displayed on the sheet. Okay. And okay. So because I didn't have my comments shown, that's the reason why, even though I had for it to print on the sheet as it's shown, your Show All Comments has to be done on your paper first. So you could have it print like this where it's going to print over these numbers, and so the problem is you're not going to be able to see some of the numbers for September, October. Or we could go File, Print, Page Setup, Sheet, and we could say at the end of the sheet, click OK. Now what we should find is we can still see the numbers in September and October, but if we go to the very bottom, it tells you which cell it's referring to and what the comment is. And so probably in most cases, you're going to want that comment at the end of the document, unless it's not going to be covering up something that might be pertinent information. And that wraps up how to create a quick table, how to filter, add comments, view comments, change them, edit, delete, and print them. Today's lesson, we're going to show you how to protect a worksheet and a workbook before you share it with others. The important thing is there may be some information that you don't want altered, but you would like to be able to share with others for informational purposes only. So we'll show you how you can do that. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and delete the contents from B2 through B46. So because this column isn't protected yet, I was able to delete that information. Then what we're going to do is go to the Formulas section on our tab of our ribbon, and we're going to click Insert Function. We're going to search for the function that is called R and Between. And we'll find that function here. It will allow us to set up our argument. So with this argument, what we're trying to do is to generate a random inventory number for our products. So in this argument box, we are going to type 10,000 in the top box as the bottom number. And we are going to type 99,999 in the top number. So like I said, this will generate a random number between those particular numbers, 10,000 and 99,999, to give us an inventory number. So that's automatically assigned this random number to this particular product. Now what we would want to do in order to generate that random number for all of the products, it's just really a matter of dragging and dropping. So what you want to do is you want to click this fill handle, which is this dark green square. And so you'll grab it and then you'll just drag it all the way down to our last line, B46, which now will generate a random number for each of those products. Now the issue would be if you end up getting a whole inventory system set up, you send this to somebody and they come over here and they change one of these random numbers, that could really, cause some headache for you. So you're probably going to want to protect the inventory number to make sure that inventory number doesn't get altered in any way. And how you can do that is you'll want to go ahead and highlight the section that you're wanting to protect. On the Home tab, we're going to click under Format. Why am I not seeing it here? 1 second. Oh, there it is. So under the Cells group, we're going to click Format. And then we're going to click Format Cells. So in order to protect it, we're going to click on this Protection tab. And if you want to lock this to where it is locked and cannot be changed, you would just check the locked box. And you'll notice here it says locking cells or hiding formulas has no effect until you protect the worksheet. Review tab changes group and protect sheet button. So we'll go ahead and click locked. And we click OK. So now what we're going to do is click on the Review tab. And in the Changes group, we're going to click Protect Sheet. And it'll tell you that if for some reason the Protect Sheet was grayed out, it's because the workbook is currently a shared workbook. So to unshare, you would have to click Share Workbook and uncheck the mark that says Allow Changes by More Than One User. So now that I've clicked Protect Sheet, we get this pop-up box. And so you can do Protect Worksheet and Contents of Locked Cells. You would type a password to unprotect the sheet. And then you can also check mark which things you want to allow. Allow all users of this worksheet to. And it gives additional options that you can check off. So for this practice run, we're going to type in the password to unprotect the sheet if we should decide to do so as password 1 exclamation point, let's say. And click OK. So now it's going to make us re-enter this password in order to fully protect it. So I'm typing it in again. You'll notice it says if you lose or forget the password, it cannot be recovered. It is advisable to keep a list of passwords and their corresponding workbook and sheet names in a safe place, and to remember that they're case sensitive. So unlike forgetting your password to your email or a website and usually being able to click forgot password and answering security questions to reset it, the caution here is that you will not be able to do that. If you lose it, you lose it. You'll have to start over from scratch. There will be no recovering a worksheet or a workbook that you have password protected if you forget the password. So I click OK here. So now what I want to show you is that if I wanted to come over here and change this inventory number, I clicked on it, I clicked delete, and it says the cell or chart you're trying to change is on a protected sheet. To make the change, unprotect the sheet. You might be requested to enter a password. So that's the beauty of being able to protect the sheet, is that no changes will be able to be made. It would only be able to be used for reference. So if we wanted to unprotect the sheet, we could click unprotect the sheet in the changes section here, and I would have to type in the password to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So I'm going to unprotect the sheet. Now again, if I choose to come over here and delete it, I can. So that's where you'll want to, decide if you need a protected sheet or if you want to have it unprotected. What the risk is by having it unprotected. You can also protect the entire workbook. So on the Review tab, which we are already on, you can click Protect Workbook. You'll most likely want to protect it for the whole entire structure. Again, you'll type in a password that you want. So I've got a password here. I'll click OK. Once more, you have to have the password. There won't be a way to recover it. And looks like I didn't type something right. And so now the password has been entered correctly, and so the workbook should be protected. And it says to verify that you cannot change worksheet options, right-click the sales category and we should see dimmed commands here. So, yes, I was clicking up here, sales category. So sales by category is what they're showing, is that you can't. And let's see if it, well, this one will allow you to then change things within the workbook on the worksheet. So it is only protecting this structure here. You wouldn't be able to add a worksheet where this plus is. So that's going to be the difference. So I'm glad I was able to point that out for you, is that when you protect a workbook, it's not necessarily protecting the contents that are on each sheet, because you can make changes here, it is actually protecting just the structure of it, what tabs are available. If I right click here, we can't make any other changes to insert a sheet, delete a sheet, etc. That wraps up, being able to protect a sheet, protect a workbook. Obviously, if you wanted to share a workbook, you could click the share button. And so it would allow you can check off allow changes by more than one user at the same time. Here's some advanced options. So you would just want to look through these and make the appropriate changes for your situation. You could also click Protect and Share Workbook, Sharing with Track Changes, and you could add a password as well. That will conclude the differences and the information that you should know between protecting a worksheet and workbook and sharing.